Well, good evening. My name is Jim Kello. Welcome to NixTrainz. This is where mentors can help modelers build. Thanks so much for coming this evening. I hope you'll come back often and tell your friends about us. If you're new to the show, if you'll visit and subscribe to our website, newtracksmodeling.com, and then confirm the email that you'll get from the website, you'll be fully subscribed and get all of the login information for all of our future shows. And most important, you'll be able to participate with our door prizes. Coming up in August, we have two door prizes. One, August the 25th, which is going to be donated by Coastmans Scenic Products. And that's going to be a 9-inch tall, old growth fir tree kit. Then August the 28th, Nick Santo is donating some of his products, Decoder Buddies, and he's going to have one door prize, but it's going to be 3 different Decoder Buddies. One of them, he says, is a V58, has 12 lighting contacts or output, and a 3-wire stay alive. The second is an original with 8 outputs. And the third one is a mini with a 4.1K resistor protecting outputs and a 3-wire stay alive. It's a very, very small one, he said. So that'll be interesting to see who the winners of those door prizes are going to be. Again, it's August 25th and August 28th. If you do subscribe and get the login information, I hope that you'll pass it along to your friends so that they can also log in and join us. We have no problem with you doing that. We just ask you not to post any of the login information on any public site for security reasons. We have all kinds of jobs that we need help with, and I've talked about it numerous times on the show. So if you think that you can give us a little bit of your time, we certainly would appreciate it. We have some outstanding build-alongs that are coming up for our shows. The first one is going to be starting September the 1st with Rick and Marie Hunter building a trestle, 81-foot trestle. There's 2 versions of it. It's a great kit. It's a great price from Hunter Line. It's the detailed information about it is on our website. So I encourage you to go and take a hard look at this. It'll be interesting to see Marie build it and be able to build along with her. A lot of people have talked about wanting to do a trestle, and Rick and Marie have kindly said that they would do one. So this starts September the 1st and it'll run through October the 6th. Also in conjunction with that, Al Collins is giving a $20 discount off of his Ultimation repeater combination kit to those people that do buy the trestle and build along with Rick and Marie. The next one is Martin Breckbilt, MMR, who you've seen on the show many times. Just an excellent modeler. He's building a Leadville Designs maintenance away car in O scale. If you buy it between the 15th of August and the 30th of September, you get a 10% discount from Leadville if you mention NixTrainz. So you get to see a real master craftsman build a great model. And I hope that you'll consider building along with Martin on that Leadville design kit. And Jim Murphy is building a LaBelle woodworking business car in HO scale, also comes in O scale. And he starts October the 13th with this build. This is a really special car, and it's built by a super talented modeler. And it can be, who will help you any way that he possibly can to make a great model out of this business car. And you've also got Jamie Bodwell around that can help you super detail the underbody of the passenger car. So again, this has a 25% discount from LaBelle. This is the second LaBelle kit that the manufacturer has done this with for us. And I really hope that you'll take a hard look at this and participate and want to build this LaBelle kit. Then October the 16th, Bill Davis is going to build a kit by Stephen Milley, rail scale models, tobacco barn kit. This is a different kind of barn than you normally think of. And Bill is, again, you've seen him many times on the show. He's just a super modeler. This kit's available in all the scales, N, H, O, S, and O. It's got a 20% discount, but you have to use the coupon code NixTrainz as one word, not two words, NixTrainz, one word, at the checkout screen in order to get the discount. And this discount's available now through the 30th of October. And this is really a super model, so I think you ought to really take a hard look at this one. Then November the 16th, David Schultz is building an All Nation kit. All Nation is being brought back by John Woodle, and it's I'm so happy to see it come back. I remember building All Nation when I was a kid. And Dave Schultz, you've seen him on the show before. He's just a super modeler. And this All Nation kit is going to be a waffle-sided boxcar. And Dave's going to build it in O scale. There are two versions of this kit. One is more detailed than the other and is more expensive. And from what John told me, who's trying to bring back the All Nation line, the sooner you order this, the better for him. Because John is doing all of this work himself. He's offering a 5% discount off of the basic kit. So I hope that you'll support John in his efforts and want to build along with Dave Schultz, because this is really a super boxcar and one of the first ones that he's bringing back from the old All Nation line. Let me talk a minute about the next My Build. This is August the 21st. Jeremy White is going to be filling in again for Chris, who's still out of the country. And this is going to be open to everybody. All you have to do to participate is send in a photo with a caption and your name to Jeremy, and he'll include it in his PowerPoint presentation. You can be on the show live and talk about it. Or Jeremy will read your caption and do it for you on the show. But you've heard me say that we're not getting the kind of participation that I had hoped for this. And with all of the great modelers on the show, I really hope that you'll say thank you to Jeremy, because this will be the last one that he does of these for Chris before Chris returns in September, and show your model and share it with us. That's what this is all about. And that means that we're trying to encourage other people to build models and to learn from your experience and see what you have accomplished. Next, if you've got a modeling question, please let us know. We've got a form on our website. All you have to do is fill it out. It's easy to do. So with all of that said, let me turn to Ted Becker for a quick tip for this evening. Ted, welcome.
Yeah, you caught me by surprise. I thought Bob Farquhar was going to do one for us tonight.
I'm sorry if that's
fine.
true.
I can get it. I can do it tonight. Not a problem.
Okay, Bob, thank you so much.
Okay.
This is
Ken,
this
you have to put
obviously this is my fault. And Bob has graciously said that he would do it tonight. I knew that Bob wanted to do one. I just didn't know it was tonight. Yeah. So this is something that Ted and Paul have encouraged. is for the rest of us to also participate in this series of quick tips. So Bob, welcome and thank you for doing this.
Okay, I'm going to try this here. Make sure this comes up. Yep, it does. Okay, and do this one. Come on. So this is going to be a quick tip on roof. Just one detail. So remember that we used to have train shows at one time? Anyway, at the train shows, I go to, always somebody has junk for sale. Always I pick up a used locomotive, buy the shell or maybe the whole thing. They're $3 or $4 or $5 type of thing. Then I only use the shell. So what I do then, I cut it apart. And what I do, for example, this part here, I'll cut down here, cut down this here, this there, and here. Same, cut these off. And then you pretty much we end up with something like this. So then, get rid of this thing here, sorry. So what I could do then, make the rooftop air conditioning systems. So just glue some of the pieces together in here. And now I got friends that force me to go to bars every now and then, get these square stir sticks type of thing. And just make them duct work in there with a little piece of paper wrapped around here to make like a joint seam type of thing. And this is not glued in place yet. This is just sitting here. So this is not colored in or whatever. And this positioning it to, it's going to be where it's going to be exactly. There's another one I've done there with another type of grill effect from the locomotive. So quick tips, fairly cheap. Looks good, I think. So thank you.
Bob, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it.
Okay.
Well, next I'd like to go to our special segments. And let me start by introducing Randy Decker. Randy, I've known for a while, and he is recreating John Allen's original model railroad. And to me, it's just something I can't imagine anybody doing that. Randy's been working on it, I think, now for about 2 years and still has a lot more to do. But I wanted Randy to come on this evening and show his video. It's a short video and talk about what he's trying to accomplish by recreating John Allen's Going to Dilapidated. So Randy, welcome. Is Randy not with us, Ken?
Here we go.
I saw him. There we go.
Does that work? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, that was my fault. Sorry, guys.
I don't see you.
Oh. I see myself up on the screen.
Oh, okay. Maybe everybody else does with me. I just don't see you.
Full screen, gallery view, speaker view, full screen. Does that help?
It doesn't me. I don't see you, Randy.
Huh.
Well, Ken, let me ask you this. Can you run Randy's video? And Randy, maybe you can just talk your way through it a little bit.
Thank you, by the way. Jim,
Wait a
thank you for the introduction. I'm sorry, guys. I'm technology and me are not great friends. So these Zoom meetings are all new to me. I'm just an
No
old.
problem.
How's that? There he goes.
Can you guys hear me? Can everybody else hear me?
I can see you now.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what happened, but I can see you now.
Sorry, it's my fault.
Hey, there it is. Thanks, Ken.
Do you want to run it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you guys watch this? I don't know if you want me to bother talking over it or not. There's no audio, so I guess it doesn't hurt.
Why don't you?
I'm going to assume that most of you guys are familiar with John Allen's layout. It was kind of a tricky choice for me when I finally retired. I wanted to build a layout for many years, and I'm older. I'm gotten to the age where I don't do bands or any of the other hobbies. Are just too expensive. The old cars, I sold everything, got out of the RC, and I want to enjoy model railroading finally. I actually earned a living as a museum exhibit specialist because of John Allen. The guy inspired me since I was a kid when I first saw the first magazine, and he dropped I was just awe-inspired from the very first picture I saw of the guy. He fooled me. He's the first person that ever fooled me with scale. I had no idea people could do that. So when I finally retired, I started planning a bunch of layouts, and I had crazy things that would have been, I was thinking about the OM30 stuff and doing something that looked like the movie set of Popeye in here, and floor to ceiling scenery and little spindly bridges. And anyway, I just wanted to have fun and build some stuff. I love building as much as I do running trains. That's the least fun for me. It's building the layout is most interesting. So I started looking at the room, and I decided I every time I planned something, I ended up with that beautiful engine house with those garden tracks. I couldn't get away from it. Every single time I did something, I had to have a standard gauge somewhere in there so I could put that engine house in. And I had two mountains, and I always wanted to put a big steel arch bridge in between them. And I figured, why not just build the thing? I started measuring. I put a few additions on the garage. I built the garage specifically for this hobby. So from the ground up, I built the place. And I started I've always had a copy of John Allen's book that Lynn Westcott put together. A lot of that was written by John. A lot of people don't know that. He actually completed about 70% of that book that Lynn put together in the end. Wonderful book, by the way. It's a great book on model railroading. It's the whole story is something, and such a tragic ending. It's just not right. It's like watching a bad Hollywood movie that has a horrible ending to me. It has since I was a kid. So I decided, you know what, I owe the man my livelihood. I really do. He actually is the one that pushed me into the hobby to the point where I got good enough, and I started learning. And you can't help it if you care about becoming good at anything. You start learning the skill sets that go with it. And I started learning everything. Everything from I ended up working as a dental lab technician and making teeth, to becoming a master finish carpenter and teaching the apprenticeship program in my union, and everything in between, from stained glass and doing old flank right window reproductions to you name it. I found I had good skills, and every time it was John that had pushed me into pushing things to the point where they're as far as you can take them. And so I decided I was going to pay him back. And as quickly as I can tell you, I started in 2019. I put the additions on the garage and just went for it. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think anybody even remembered who John Allen was when I first started this thing. I hadn't spoken to anybody. I didn't belong to the NRMRA. I didn't know any local guys near me that model anymore. I just decided to do it. And the more I researched, the more people I found. There's a whole world of guys out there, and unfortunately, they're all older faces like ours I see on the screen. There's not a lot of kids that seem to get into this stuff quite this deeply anymore, but every once in a while, I've run into a few kids, and it does give you a little hope. So anyway, I'm having the time of my life. I'm a wonderful modeler. I'm lucky. I've had a lot of skills, and I learned from John that you could push realism to the point where you really can fool people. And the weathering and the dirt. I mean, John taught me to look at all the old industries when I went on a trip when I was a kid after I discovered his stuff. And I noticed, I didn't notice just like I used to. I started looking at the actual color of water. It's not blue. It's not pretty. It's not clean. You know, and the backs of all these buildings have these rusty old fences and piles of junk. And oh, that's wonderful. I mean, that's the stuff that just, that's what makes it. And then you watch John's example, and then he puts real people in there that are doing real world things or comical things. It doesn't matter. Those are the things that bring that little extra touch of realism. And then you put something that's your own. The famous, the two guys playing checkers. You know, I mean, it's priceless. Something like that is something that becomes yours. People will marvel at a layout, but when they go home 2 years later, when they think about it, they'll remember the two guys sitting there playing checkers. next to the little shack. They won't remember your beautiful trains or some prototype, wonderfully, perfectly painted B&O engine. They won't give a damn how big the letters are or whether it was done correctly or not. But they'll remember those guys playing the checkers, and that's what they'll want to come back and see again. So that's what I'm doing. John really taught me a lot of things. He was a force in this hobby that's undeniable, and I'm having a blast. And I'm going to make this thing, I'm going to do it exactly as close as I possibly can, just like I did for work. I'm making it a museum exhibit job here anyway, and I'm giving it everything I got, you guys. I do have a long, Jim's right, I got a long way to go. So I hope you guys will follow along. I got some other websites and other things, and it's fun. You guys are all a bunch of real modelers, at least the way I understand it that Jim tells me. And that is refreshing, guys. I am so sick of picking up a magazine and seeing an article about the newest Atlas water tower with the realistic water sounds. And then they have the next 6 pages are some kind of an article about how you can place that little water tower in your layout. And it's just product placement articles don't do it. That's not the stuff that inspires people. It's those wonderful little pictures from guys like you that do some crazy little things. You got, just some beautiful coach. That's the stuff kids see. That's the stuff I saw. That's what inspired me to get better. That was the stuff. I didn't care about the guy that had the gondola article. I didn't rebuild that gondola, but I used some of his techniques. But it was the picture on the next page that somebody won an award for. That's what just blew my mind. And I said, oh my God, I want to do that. So that's the stuff you guys do. And it's the old stuff. It's the old school stuff. It's scratch built. It's clever. It's problem solving, and it's wonderful. And I'd love to see this hobby not lose that. And we're going to need to see younger faces. I don't know how to get them, but I'm hoping maybe this gory and defeated thing, this might make a couple of kids, when they see the whole thing out there, you know what it did for us when you saw it. I mean, love John or not, and care about a prototype or not, you can't deny the fact that that layout was just an amazing little world. And he did that, and he pulled an awful lot of people into this hobby with it. And I don't know, maybe redoing it'll do that. I'll at least give guys like me and some of you, I'm sure, that may have always wanted to see John's place but couldn't, I'll give you a place to come and actually finally see it as close as I can. So I'm having a lot of fun, and it's been fun. I met Jim here recently, and we've had a lot of interesting conversations. So I don't want to take any more of your time tonight. I just stopped in to say hi. It took me forever to figure out how to get this thing going. So I'm not very good at this stuff. So.
Oh, you're doing great. And listen, I want everybody to know, Randy is going to be our featured modeler in December. He's going to be coming back. And he's going to have a lot more pictures to show and a lot more details that he can talk about on really what he's done and how he's doing it. And the techniques that he's trying to use maybe that are slightly different from what John may have used. But I think the result is going to be the same. So Randy, thanks so much for being here tonight. I really do appreciate it, and best of luck in your modeling.
Thank you, Jim. Look forward to seeing all you guys again. That's great. I recognize a couple of names, by the way. Hello. You guys see me around, please stop in and say hi anytime. I've got a website and there's a Facebook page, which I can't wait to get off of, but please do say hello. I'm always here, and you won't need advice, but maybe you'll get a kick out of looking at some of these pictures you probably remember from your youth too, like I do. So nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Now I'd like to turn to David Rath, who's building Paul Egri design out of card. Dave, welcome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jim. Glad to be back. I don't have much of an introduction here. This just carries on with the build of the engine house. And Ken, if you're ready, you can roll back to number 3 session. So this is starting part 3 of my build along. And once you've gotten these side pieces cut out for the overlays,
to take them and glue them onto some heavier card. This is actually watercolor paper. It's about 18 to 20 thousandths thick. It's 300 GSM, grams per square meter. And I notice a difference in the format here. I'm going to take this video straight off of my camera, including the sound. So that roaring that you hear in the background is from my furnace fan, because that's also air conditioning and it's running constantly pretty much. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking some stick glue. This is just the Elmer's all-purpose glue stick. I'm applying that onto the heavier card. I generally put it on a heavy card because it has less tendency to curl and warp from the moisture. Even though there's not a lot of moisture in this glue, it still will tend to pucker the paper. I put quite a bit on. You want to get it well covered with no gaps. Then I'm going to carefully lay my overlay pieces on top. And press them down. After I get these initially placed, I'll come back with my roller and roll it down securely. The roller I use, well, I use two of them actually, because I just happen to have two. This one was an old, actually it's a veneering roller that I bought years and years ago when I used to do some woodworking. It's used to roll down veneer. Pretty much the same thing I'm doing here with paper. I guess you could call this a paper veneer. But you want to roll it down so that it makes good contact with the substrate. Now you're saying, well, why are you gluing that on there anyway? Well, I decided that these sidewalls would look better if the pilasters stood proud of the surface a little more than just a single layer of cardstock. So I'm adding this heavier backing paper to make them stand out. Now that has to dry, and then once it's pretty well dried, I'll cut out the background between the image. So I'll be cutting out these areas here and trimming it to the edges so that we can glue this over top of the sidewall. And the reason this is not all glued together yet into a box is because I want to be able to lay this down flat. And after I glue these pieces, after I cut them out, I'm going to put them on there and glue them with some PVA glue or white glue, whatever you want to call it. And because that takes a while to set, I want to put a weight or heavy weight over top of this, and that will help to keep the wall flat, and the glue will also act to reinforce the wall, much like glue in a plywood would, a piece of plywood. Okay, so that's what we're up to today. So if you're following along with your build of my version, I'm going to do this and cut out these walls. And you can use a different thickness for the backer, or you could use no backer. If you don't really want a lot of offset in these pilasters, just use your single layer of cardstock and cut them out. And after these openings here are all cut out, don't forget to come back with your marker and edge around the inside of the opening so that you don't see that cut line. Okay, we're also going to make a layer for the end walls, much the same way we did for the side wall. But here, it's going to be slightly different because the only place there's a pilaster is right on the very edges. And so I'm just going to carefully cut down along that edge of that pilaster. And also on this side, and this side is a bit more difficult to pick out, but it's there. Okay. And this piece here is going to be cut out completely. I want to double up the thickness where the blue paneling is, just like on the sidewalls, because the paneling actually sits over top of the pilasters, so it sticks out just as far. Okay, cut out the door openings. Missed the spot. That furnace fan's shut down, so it's not quite so noisy. Okay, now here, I'm going to use that straight edge. I'm going to cut along this, the edge of where the paneling goes. And we're going to cut down along the side. And last cut will be across the bottom. And actually, we're only going to be cutting out these two edges here. But we can draw our knife all the way across. Okay. So that's going to be our end wall overlay. And again, I'm going to take this and I'm going to glue it onto the heavier card. And what I'm gonna, since I would like to get this all on one card, what I'm going to do is position this in such a way that I can overlap this piece. At least I'm going to try anyway. We'll see how that works out.
By the
I
way,
can
that,
see why I suggest that you print multiple copies of each page.
cardboard.
I've probably already gone through about 4 on this little bit of build that I've done so far. Print copies are cheap if you're doing them on a home printer, that is. Even if you have to go to a print shop somewhere to have it printed up, I suggest that you get probably at least 4 copies of each page, of each plate printed, just to have in case you make a mistake, and then also because it gives you the extra pieces that you need for layering. So that's what I do. And obviously, if you're using a home printer and you get working on your project and you find out that you messed something up, you can always go back and reprint that page and start it over again. Now your end walls, whoops, I don't have this cut quite through here. Forgot something. If you ever have an instance like this where you don't have it cut completely to the corner, just go back and recut that piece. And you'll be able to tell, because it won't come off the sheet cleanly. Don't just take it and pull it to try to tear it away, because it'll mess up the corner here, something awful. Okay, so here we have our 2 end walls cut out, and I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to edge these edges like I did on the other one. Actually, I should probably put this on the backer first. But you need to make sure that these cut edges don't show up white. I just want to make it's very difficult to do this edge coloring after you have assembled your project. Oops. So always try to do it beforehand, before assembly, and do it from the back surface, back edge, back side, if you will, of your print. Because if your marker happens to wander off the mark and slips out on the surface, like here, oops, you don't ruin your print. Okay? So you always want to mark these edges from the back side of your print. And I usually try to flip it around a couple times to make sure that I got everything. Okay, we'll come back to this in a little while after this glue sets, and we're going to glue these onto the same card. Hopefully they'll both fit. Yeah, it's going to be snug. Well, I might just get another sheet. Paper's not very expensive, so. Okay, so there you have it. We'll come back after this glue sets, like I said, and we'll glue these in place. And then we'll cut out this page with the backer. And then we'll proceed to glue that over top of our walls that we had previously cut and folded. And this is the other side wall. We have to do this as well. Now, like I said, why didn't I glue this together? Well, because I want to lay it flat. And after I glue that other piece on, I want to put a weight over top of it, like a heavy book or something of that nature, until the glue sets so that you don't get any warping. Now, already this is stiffer than just a single sheet would be, because we have it doubled up with our window doubler on the back side. Now we're going to glue this on top yet, and then we're going to cut just the blue metal portion. We're going to cut that out of another print. Okay, so we have to go back to one of our prints again. We're going to cut out just the blue metal part, and we're going to glue that over top of here, so that there will be a definition between the blue metal and the pilaster underneath it. Of course, since metal is not very thick, I'm just going to use the single layer of cardstock on the print and glue that over top of this. Then after that's all glued into the side, then we can take and assemble our structure into a box. You're going to find it's pretty weak. It's primarily because of the big cutouts in the ends for the doors. And you're also going to find it doesn't look very realistic because the door frame is going to be very thin. So what I'm going to do on this instance is, before I glue the doors in, I'm going to cut a piece of heavy card, like from a cereal box card or something of that nature, a relatively heavy piece of chipboard, and we're going to glue that on the inside surface right over top of this, or behind it, if you will. Then we're going to cut out that door opening in that card and that heavy chipboard, and that will stiffen up this wall, and it will also inset the door, which will make the wall appear thicker, and it'll also strengthen those walls quite a bit, because right now they're very floppy. Now, I could have also done that on the side walls if I wanted to have more inset on the windows, like as though they were set back in the wall further. I would have used a heavier card glued onto the back side of here, and then cut out the window openings, and then glued our window sheet behind that yet. And that could have increased the thickness of the wall. Remember, we're trying to deal with two issues here: the structural integrity of the building itself, and also the visual appearance. Because the more layers that we can put on there, the definition that we can provide will just make the building look that much better. So join me a little later. We'll come back to this.
Anybody have any questions on this so far? Gets a little tedious at points, but I was trying to record it as I was building it, so it takes a little longer.
Great job, Dave. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, now I'd like to turn to our featured modeler tonight. And I'm really happy that he could be with us. Nick Nicholson owns a company called Nick's Hobby Shop, or NixTrainz. And he was recommended by a viewer because of how great a service and how great a hobby shop Nick has. So Nick, welcome.
Well, thanks. We finally got logged in.
Well, I apologize. I don't know what happened to that other login, but at least this one worked. But your video is not working properly.
I noticed that, and nothing we did on purpose, but that's the way it is, I guess.
Ken, is there a problem from your side, you think, or?
No, I think are you using some kind of a green screen effect or something?
I don't think so.
No special background?
No special background. This is, we don't do, this is probably only my second Zoom meeting. So I'm not sure if everything is set up correctly, but it's just my laptop. It's a Dell laptop, and it's I don't know what's going on, but at least the audio works.
Yeah, well, let's don't worry about it. Well, Nick, thanks so much for being here this evening. When I was trying to first reach you, I logged into your website and got your telephone number and gave you a call. And while I was waiting for the person to be able to talk to me, because you weren't there at the time, he had a great conversation with another modeler. And I'll tell you, I just couldn't believe the detail that he went into with that modeler and how helpful he was to him. So you have no question about it in my mind. You've got a fantastic staff working for you in your hobby shop.
Well, I'll pass that on to them. They are good. We have a relatively small hobby shop. We have 2,800 square feet, which when we got the building, I thought would be more than we would ever need, but we could use about 4 times that much space. And there's only 3 of us that work there now. It's myself and my son, Frank, and probably the person that you heard speaking was George.
It was.
I'm sorry?
It was George. Hello? Ken, did we lose him?
I still see him.
I
He's
don't.
muted. He's muted. Nick, you're muted.
Nick, they say that you're muted. Can you unmute your speaker?
Is that better?
Yeah, at least now I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, we got some sort of message across our screen. I guess somebody's trying to get that audio or video working. But at any rate, George is probably the person you talk with. George has probably forgotten more than I'll ever know about trains and model trains. He is a absolutely superb modeler. He has built many layouts for different people over the years. And he has never built a layout for himself until about a year ago. And he started building, he's fascinated with the Virginian Railroad, that hauled coal from Western Virginia. And he's building a model of a section of that. He is an O scale modeler. Although he does have two working tracks with his new layout. One is O scale and one is 3-rail. But I'm glad he has a chance to do that, and he does spend a lot of time, as does Frank. George is, of the three of us, George knows more. He's more just got more experience and everything else, and he's good. We're glad to have him.
You're really fortunate to have him. When did you start? When did you open your hobby shop? How long has it been there?
Yeah, I'll give you just a brief history. I have always been interested in trains, toy trains, model trains. I was never I was just watching that video of the guy building the building, and it's always fascinating for me to see that. I'm not really good at that. Not my thing. What I really enjoyed most about model trains was repairing like post-war Lionel and American Flyer trains and stuff like that. So I started this business. Well, first of all, I'm an engineering geologist by profession, and that's what I did my working career. But I started the business 29 years ago in an indoor flea market. And it was, we had a 8-foot by 12-foot cubicle. And I started out as a post-war American Flyer Lionel repair person. And after about a week, I figured out that was too narrow a slice to be really viable. And so it just started expanding. And after 5 years, we moved out of the flea market and moved into a mall. And then 5 years later, we moved into our own building. And like I say, we could use 4 times the space at this point. But that's just what happened. It kind of grew like Topsy, and there we are. But it's fun. So,
Well, absolutely. So let me ask you this, but you've come a long way in that period of time, certainly. What do you see as your main business concerns or the things that are challenging for you right now?
I probably, if you had asked me that 18 months ago, I would have had a little bit different answer. I might have said something like quality control and getting younger people into the hobby. I think right now our biggest concern is getting merchandise. We have a number of distributors, as you might suspect, Walters and Horizon and Emery and Stevens and Heartland and so forth. But about a month ago, we got an email from the president of Heartland out in Nebraska. And he said this, he said, expect the worst year for supply since 1945. Now, I wasn't alive in 1945, but I think based on what he said, I think it's probably a bad thing. He said, and he gave us reasons, and he said, last year we paid $4,500 to ship a container from China to the US. This year, we're going to pay $15,000 if we can get the container. So that is becoming more and more of a challenge, which is really strange. We're having trouble keeping the stuff in our shop that we want to have.
I've heard that from other people. I've heard too that the distributors, that the companies in the U.S. are having trouble finding employees.
We've heard that. I talked to, we've got accounts with a number of manufacturers. I've talked to the Intermountain guys not too long ago. And basically he told me, you know, I said, I thought all your stuff was made in the US. And he said, no. He said, we shoot it, you know, that we do the injection molding and painting and so forth here. And then we package all that stuff up and we send it to China and they assembled it in China. He said a locomotive has 200 to 220 different parts. And he said, let me put it this way. If we had to assemble our box cars, our HO scale box cars in the US, we would have to charge $200 a piece for them. I had no idea that the labor gap, as far as paying people was that great, but apparently it is.
Well, and I also hear that not only is supply going to be a real issue, I mean, a real issue, not just for locomotives, not just for cars, but for just about everything, track, you name it. And it's going to be a problem because so much of it is coming from China.
That's what we're seeing right now. We're literally, we have gaps in our track supply. We have gaps in almost everything. And stuff that 3 or 4 years ago was no problem, you know, just routinely order it. Now we're having to wait, not in stock.
Yeah. And from what I hear, there's nothing the distributors can do. There's really nothing that the manufacturers can do at this point. I mean, it's almost like we're at the mercy of other forces that we have no control over.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, it's a worldwide economy, and we understand that. You know, there'd be a lot of benefits for moving a lot of stuff back, being made inside the U.S. as far as we think, as far as quality control and supply and so forth. But we understand we understand the market, and we understand you know, you got labor costs are just, I think, what's driving all of that. What our advice, you know, the new Lionel catalog, for instance, just came out. The volume 2 just came out a week or so ago, and you know, we've been handing that out. And our advice to people when we give them catalogs is this: everything in this catalog will not be available. And you won't know that. The second piece of advice we give them is that, and this is not just Lionel, but just about everybody. If you see something you want, you better get it on order somewhere, because if you don't, you won't get it.
I hear that by the time most modelers find out about a new release, it's too late to order it.
We have people calling in every other day wanting something that the deadline for putting the order in was last August. So yeah, you're probably right.
I've also hoped, Kurt, that the only real solution for the average modeler to be able to have an order placed in a timely manner so he can be sure he'll get it is to be on the email list for the manufacturers, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to get enough advance notice of what's coming out to be able to make sure they can get it ordered.
Well, that's probably a good idea and a good advice. You know, we're not, if you've looked at our website, you'll understand that we're not real tech savvy. We're working on it. It's going to get better. But if it sure would be nice if we have a list of steady customers, you know, trained guys around in this area, trained people. And it sure would be nice it sure would be nice if we could notify, if we had some sort of newsletter, we could notify people when things are coming out. But a lot of people do track the manufacturers' websites, and they'll call us and say, this is what we need, and we'll get it for them.
Another question that some of the people on the show have asked is for example, you have different wholesalers and different distributors that you order from regularly. Do you have a set time during the week when you place your orders?
Not exactly. We almost always send in an order on Saturday evening, but we also send in orders during the week. The reason that happens, if somebody comes in and they're saying, I'm looking for this particular locomotive, then we'll search all our distributors. And if we see, and we always have a list of stuff we need anyway. So if we see that only one distributor perhaps has one of these locomotives, and a lot of times they'll say, they won't tell us how many they have in stock, but it'll say low, quantity is low. And for a number of our distributors, that means they only have 2 or 3. So we'll go ahead and add enough stuff to the order, to make a minimum order, and we'll fire that out just to make sure we get that item that the customer wants. So we order all through the week. Sometimes almost every Saturday evening, an order will go out. But many times there's a couple of orders that go out during the week because of the reasons I said.
Nick, your customer base right now is basically local, or do you solicit worldwide sales?
Well, it's more local right now because our internet, our website is so abysmal. We do have a lot of, we have a lot of Z and N and HO and newer trains, but we also have a lot of antique Lionel trains, and we have some really old HO trains and stuff that collectors would be interested in. So, we do need to broaden that base. But right now, everybody, it's mostly, North Carolina, I'd say from the coast to, the inner Piedmont. Yeah. We have some out of state people that we ship to pretty regularly, but that's mostly it.
I understand you've got the narrow gauge convention there coming up pretty soon, September the 1st, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Uh-huh.
Are you participating in that this year, or?
No, we're not. And train shows, in general, train shows are difficult for us. It's just a whole lot of work, and we're still running the train shop. So there's only two shows that we actually go to here in Raleigh, one in May and one in November, and they're both shows put on by the local train club. And we're kind of it's good advertisement for us, but we're trying to support the club too, and and it's fun. But we don't do a lot of shows.
Gotcha. Shipping cost, particularly to Canada, and I don't know whether you do a lot of business with Canadian customers, but I hear all the time about the difficulty of getting stuff shipped to Canada and the cost of it and so on. Are you running into that kind of a problem, or do you not deal with that kind of customer internationally?
We haven't. We don't have. We don't do a lot of business with Canadians. I guess we're too far away, and so we really haven't seen that. Yeah.
Gotcha. What about hands-on clinics? Some of the people on the show, again, they're modelers and model builders, and they would love to see hobby shops be able to offer more clinics and model building and so forth. Some of the hobby shops, I understand, are are doing this in conjunction with either a local club or with the local NMRA division. Are you all involved in that kind of thing?
We're not. We tried doing that several years back. We had a guy who wanted to do some scenery clinics. The problem we ran into was space. We did not have space in our shop to set up anything to have a clinic. To have a workplace for people and tables and chairs and so forth. We just didn't have the room. I don't know, and I don't know if anybody else here is doing that as far as the train business or the railroad modelers. There is a hobby shop here in town that is primarily into radio controlled aircraft and cars. And they have room in the back of their shop to do that. And I think they do that some, but it's not railroad related.
Gotcha. What I hear from the hobbyist on the show here is what they really expect from a hobby shop is to stock the basics, the stuff that every model railroader would want. They don't expect you to have every possible detail part and all the rest of it. It'd be nice if you do, but that's just impossible. And they're also finding out that other hobbies, the military modelers, the different kind of paints and weathering and the different tools that they use, as well as other hobbies, are getting to be more important to model railroaders than they have been in the past. So what they really want the hobby shop to do is stock the basics for model railroading, but then be able to order for them the other things that they need for their hobby. Does that kind of go along with what you're hearing from the hobbyists that you deal with?
Yeah, exactly. And not just from what we're hearing, that's always been my model for our hobby shop. I tell Frank and George a lot, what we have here, guys, is just a hardware store, but it's a very, very specialized hardware store. And what I mean by that is if you're looking for a particular plumbing or a particular electrical item or something, you might not find it at Lowe's, but you expect to find it at a hardware store. We don't have everything, I think, and we'll never have everything. It's obviously impossible, but we have now, and we're going to have even more. We have more than the basics. And I think a hobby shop's got to have more. I understand what you mean by basics, but I think a hobby shop's got to have a lot deeper inventory than just the basics if it's going to be a good shop for modelers.
What about small manufacturers? Do you, there seem to be an awful lot of them out there, and some of them are more business oriented than others are. I understand that, and I really don't know what the hobby shops can do to help them. But I've always thought of them as really the heart and soul of the hobby because of the products that they bring forth that we wouldn't know about or wouldn't have available to be able to build or to enjoy without them. What do you get involved with the small manufacturers?
Well, I guess by involved, do you mean do we order directly from them or talk to them? And yes, I think actually, I'm not sure what you mean by small, but in my opinion, most of the railroad hobby items come from what I'd call small manufacturers. They're just about all small, and that's fine. I mean, it works well.
And what I'm talking about are the mom and pop that either have a spare bedroom or a basement or a garage, and They built a
Well,
kit. They built a kit and they like it, and other people have
yeah,
said, "I want one of those," and all of a sudden they're in business. And
yeah,
they come out now with 3D printing and all the rest of the technology out there. You know, they're coming out with some really creative things for model railroaders.
yeah, they are. Well, yeah, we deal a lot with folks like that. There's a lot of scenery folks and structure folks, right? Figures and so forth that are really small, I guess, small manufacturers and but they're the heart and soul of the industry. I think they're putting out that stuff.
Absolutely, and without them, we wouldn't have it.
No, we wouldn't. No, we wouldn't.
So, what's your future for this hobby shop? Where are you going? Where do you see yourself in 3 years, say, or 5 years?
Well, we're going to keep adding. We keep reorganizing the hobby shop, trying to create more space, and we're getting real good at that actually. But we're going to keep adding inventory. We would like to expand the building. In Raleigh, maybe in most places in the country now, this is the wrong time to be building anything. The cost of the cost of building. I'll tell you a quick story. We had a contract 3 years ago for a 600 square foot addition to the building, and it was really easy. Concrete slab, T111 siding, no plumbing, no basic electricity, heating and air was a mini split system because we already had enough heating and air. But anyway, it was kind of a slam dunk. And a guy came out and he said, he looked at it and everything, said, "Yeah, we can do this." So he sent me a contract, $38,000. And I said, "Jesus, we are in. This is wonderful." He said, "There's only one catch." He said, our architect will only do residential work. He said, "You've got to get yourself a commercial architect to draw up the plans." And I said, "Do you guys need an architect?" And he said, "Do you guys need a set of plans?" He said, "No, this is a slam dunk. This is easy. We do this every day. But you need a set of plans because you've got to get a permit," which, we knew. And I said, "Okay." So I called an architect and he came out there and he sent me a contract for $15,000. And I emailed him back and I said, "Look, I don't want you to build the building. I just want a set of plans so I can get a permit." And he said, "That's it, 15 grand. And I said, "Well, no, you're out." So I called another guy and he came out and it was $20,000. No, it was $22,000. And I said, "Look, this is a $38,000 building, $38,000 addition. Are you going to charge me $22,000 to draw me a set of plans so I can get a permit?" And he said, "Yeah, that's right." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, you've got to, there's a lot of things that go into it." And I'm not knocking architects. He said, "There's a lot of things that go into it. You got to know if you've got enough parking spaces." And I said, "Well, to be sure, there's some sort of formula for that. We can stand right here and figure that out." But it just went from bad to worse. So I finally figured out that the building industry is so robust in Raleigh right now that everybody was just giving me the go away price. It's a small job. They didn't really want to mess with it, but they said, "Okay, if we can make plenty of money on it, we'll do it." So we've just sort of had to back off and I guess wait for the recession. I don't know.
Yeah, that's too bad.
We hope to expand at some point.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Particularly with the price of construction right now. I mean, it's going up here in Florida. It's really increased significantly lately.
It's getting crazy. It's been crazy around here. Yeah.
Well, listen, I don't want to take the whole time here. Anybody
Yeah.
else have any questions for Nick and his hobby shop?
Where are you located again?
We're in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Raleigh. Okay.
If you're familiar with Raleigh, it's a northwest area. There's a US 70 highway runs right through town. It's called Glenwood Avenue when it's inside the city, and we're a block off Glenwood Avenue.
Okay, very good. Yeah, maybe I missed it, but did you have a website?
We do have a website, and it's I'm apologetic about our website, but you can go on and look.
That's fine.
You just can't shop, and you can't do things that you need to do. We're
Okay.
working on that. Yeah.
Okay, no, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
My IT person is my daughter, and she's trying to help me.
All right.
Hey, Nick, this is Greg. Do you find that you're still having a sufficient number of modelers come in who want to build stuff, not necessarily from scratch, but maybe from scratch, but they're going to be the ones who are looking for supplies to work with, such as strip wood and siding, if they're talking about structures, or just buying trucks and other detail parts if they're going to build a car, or is more of your business ending up going towards the ready to run market?
I couldn't. Our thrust has always been toward the creative modeler. We have for instance, basswood, balsa wood, strip wood, all the sidings, all the K&S, all the evergreen, all the. We don't have all the plastruct. They make just tons and tons of stuff. But at any rate, we've got most of that.
Well, that's good. If you have K&S stuff, I think Jim may be in touch with you again.
We've got a lot of paints. We've got a lot of tools, and that's been the thing that I've been most interested in, actually. I'll tell you what happened. I don't know what it was, 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, when ready to build or pre-built or what do they call it? Built up kits first came out. I think Atlas may have come out with some to begin with, but you could buy this kit, plastic, pre-colored molded kit of a church, say from Atlas, for $11.98. And then all at once they started putting out these built up kits, and it was the identical stuff. It's somebody had just glued it together and they put it in a bigger box, and they charged $28.98 for it. So I told everybody, well, we're not buying any of that crap. Who's going to pay $30 for a $12 kit? And I was completely wrong. And we finally figured out that the deal is there are a whole bunch of people who are good model railroaders who don't have the time to build the structure they want. And I don't mean this in a bad way, don't know which end of a tube of glue to open. And subsequently, some of those built ups, if you look at some of the, there's Woodland Scenics kits are phenomenal, and they're very expensive. And we started looking at those, and we were a little bit standoffish to begin with, but George and I sat down and we said, well, if you had to buy everything that's in this kit, it would cost you more than this kit. So subsequently, we have a lot of that. But we still have a lot of people who come in. We have model railroaders that come in. We have war gamers that come in. We have shipbuilders that come in. We do have some plastic models, and we've got some, wooden airplanes and wooden ships and so forth like that. But we have a lot of folks coming in, buying supplies for their particular hobby. Yeah. I can't tell you, I can't give you percentages though. I don't know.
No, but I'm glad to hear that you carry both, because I think the hobby should be catering to all those factions, and it's not like one modeler is either going to go one way or another. I enjoy building structures, but if I want cars on my railroad, I'm just as happy to build to buy one of those. It's ready to go on the railroad.
Exactly.
It gives me more time to spend building structures. Well, thank you for your answer.
Sure.
Well, Nick, I really do appreciate you taking the time to be with us this evening.
Well, appreciate the invite.
Well, I started this because I wasn't sure if any of the hobby shops would be interested. But I have such fond memories of the times when I was younger, and I had a hobby shop that I used to go to all the time. I had such fond memories of the people I met and the conversations I had and the help I got from the owner, that I thought, well, maybe we can do this with hobby shop owners too. And I really do appreciate so much you taking the time to be with us tonight. And I wish you the best of luck with the expansion of your hobby shop.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it a lot, and good talking to the people I talked to and seeing what I saw. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick. Well, now I'd like to go back and introduce Earl Hackett. Earl got here, said that he wanted to be a little later tonight in the show, and that's why I skipped over him previously. But Earl has built a switch machine that is something that you don't buy off the shelf. And I think that this is really going to be interesting. So Earl, welcome.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to fire this guy up. Can you see that?
Yes.
So medium speed switch machine. That's what I'm calling it. I don't have a better name. Okay, introduction. Of course, we all started off with those twin coil things that go snap, crackle, and pop, and sometimes fly across the room, and I didn't like them. So when I started this layout, I took them down to the hobby shop, put them on consignment, and let somebody else deal with the stuff. And I went and I looked at these tortoise machines, and everybody was using them at the time. And I just looked how they were so slow. I said, this is not what I'm looking for. I didn't like them either. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Oh, come on. Next one. Good old PowerPoint. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, there we go. I click it over, got to click on the screen here. Manual ground throws. I didn't like them because they're oversized. They look like the prototype, but they're about 10 times as big as it should be. And you put your mitt into the scenery and the structures, and you're almost guaranteed to break something. Well, what I wanted was positive switch movement. In other words, when that switch throws, you know it throws, and it goes hard over, and it stays there. I wanted it to move at near prototype speed. I was at a overpass in a place called Rondout, Illinois. It was an old trolley line. It's now a bike trail. You can stand up on that overpass of the bike trail and watch this fairly complicated interlocking working. And you could see the switches and see how they ran. And they were throwing about half a second, maybe a little faster. And so that's what I wanted to get. Yard and industrial switches are, of course, going to be manual. And I wanted the same mechanism on both the powered and the manual switches. And also, I wanted easy access to the mechanics of it. So another thing that I wanted powered frogs. I run my frog power out to a little bit past the clearance point of the switch, just in case somebody runs a red and it heads for a closed switch. He shorts the booster and it stops. So it's better to have the booster cut you off a little bit, and rather than having somebody derailment and then have cars all over the place and big fists getting in there. And it had to be robust, easily maintained and installed, of course. So this is the initial design. The switch action is controlled, the mechanism is basically a toggle switch. I extensively use 4-pole switches because if you're going to, I mechanically link two turnouts on a crossover so that one lever handles both of them. And so you need two poles handle the power to the frog. And we have another pole here, which is on the powered switch machines, tells the controller which way the switch is thrown and when it throws. So for the design, I wanted to make sure the design has clearance to get this torsion bar here past the side of the switch machine. These are just linked with wire pins, as you'll see. The torsion bar can be mounted as long as you want it to be. I have one that's 18 inches long to get down to where I can access the thing. It comes up through the sub row bed, and there's a 40 thou phosphor bronze spring wire that latches into the throw bar. This is the original throw bar design. It works, but I have since modified that pretty extensively. The components are pretty simple. You take this 1/2-inch copper tube. Now, it's copper tubing is 1/2 inch on the OD, not the ID. It's not copper pipe. You pop a 1/4 inch hole in here, take some shears, cut it along here, bend the ears up, put it down over a 1/4 inch bar stock in a vise and whack the daylights out of it with a hammer until you form it into this shape. And you're pretty much ready to go. The important thing is that when you make this cut, you do it with a regular pipe cutter so that it compresses the end a little bit. This is very soft metal and it compresses quite a bit when you cut it. The throw bar is the only really machined thing. Drill a hole, 45 hole here, and you'll have a solder a copper wire into here. This is the hole for the torsion bar, and you have a 832 tap for a set screw to come in here and lock it in place. Distance here is about 1 inch between the center of the throw bar and this pin. It's not critical, but it just has to be enough to give you clearance on that 4-pole toggle switch. And this is just, I think it's 5/32 bar stock, brass bar stock. The only assembly you really have to do is when you put the this clevis, that brass, that copper pipe or copper tube clevis onto your piece of wooden dowel. The wooden dowel is a 3/8 inch typical wooden dowel you pick up anywhere. And what I did, I first put it in here so it's the dowel comes up to about where the flattened areas are. And I put a bunch of epoxy, thickened epoxy so it won't sag or run. Just slather that all over the place here to seal it. Once that sets, I turn it up on end and I pour very liquid epoxy in until I fill this void in here. And it fills in a little bit up here too, but that doesn't matter. What it does, it forms a mechanical lock, and that thing is never coming off of that push rod. It's there forever. Now, this is the original throw bar, and I'll show you a photograph of the others. I'm not going to go into the details of the other one because it takes a lot of machining. But this worked fine. 550, a little over 1/2 inch between these pins where the wire from the points comes down, and you have a slot here for that phosphor bronze spring wire to come through. And this is cut down to whatever this height is, whatever your clearance is between your top of your ties and your sub row bit or whatever you have down underneath here. That's adjustable to for it, whatever the location is. So here's what it looks like when you finally get it put together. Take a piece of a bar stock, aluminum bar stock, torsion bar comes up through, and this is a manual system. Basically, you have a hole that's drilled through here, and that a pin goes through here and connects it to the toggle switch. Another pin is coming up from the torsion rod, comes up through one of those, a hole in the bottom. And when you pull the bar, the toggle switch throws, this thing turns, this turns, boom, pulls the spring over, and it works very reliably. I've been using these for 20 years, and they just keep on working. So here's what one looks like underneath the layout. You can see it's just epoxy. I mean, it's not very gentle with it. And in some cases, like on this one, where this has to rotate, this has to pivot. I use a piece of number 6 all thread, glue it into the end of a piece of that rod with just a plain old, wood glue. Put a bunch of wood glue in here, drill a hole so that the air can get out, then shove the slather the all thread with a bunch of glue, shove it in there. And when it dries, it doesn't stick that well to the all thread, but it's locked in place. It can't come back out. And then you put it on with a couple nuts and lock washers. The reason we have 2 of this particular switch can be controlled from 2 locations on the fascia. It's part of a coal mine, and the operator may have to be at either end of the yard to operate it. Now this is a power switch. I've used in a micro mark switch tender, but rather than running it with a resistor, I put full blown 12 volts into it. And in fact, I think I'm running 15 volts on them right now. But what I've done, I've taken a little tiny piece of bar stock, drilled a hole through it, and it pins through the output shaft of the motor. And this is just a plain gear head motor. It runs at about 20 to 30 RPM free. And this basically takes the place of that push rod. And so it pulls back and forth. Now you're wondering, well, how do you stop it? Well, that's the trick. It's going full tilt, and it has to stop or you'll tear the track apart. Now, Micromart sells those things for about $20. You can buy similar motors on Amazon for about 10 or 12 bucks. I found this one here, 12 volt, 20 RPM. That is just about perfect. They make an angle bracket for it to mount it. It mounts with screws going into the front of this thing. But you could buy one angle bracket and use that as a drill pattern and make all the brackets you want for 1/4-inch aluminum angle stock. Now here, this is one that shows a crossover. This is back when I was first building the layout. This bar here goes over to this rod, and it controls a switch that's in here, and the other one goes up through here. And of course, this thing was in exactly the wrong place. It was off. I didn't plan it. It was just wound up there, so I had to drill a hole all the way through it with an aircraft drill. But that's the way it goes. There's always you think there's probably the hole's gonna be here or here or here or here. Nope. It's right on the support. So a couple other installations here showing this one here is set up with a cross. This is for a single switch, and this one here is controlling a crossover. And just another shot to show how they're arranged. Now this is a switch with the my newer throw bar. And you can see right in here, there's an 080 machine screw. The throw bar is actually 3 pieces. There are 2 plastic pieces that have been machined. And there's a piece of 1/8-inch square brass bar stock underneath. And this guy goes down into the bar stock. Reason I built these is because I could disassemble them if I ever need to do maintenance, which I haven't yet. But if I ever do, I can pull everything up from between the rails without tearing up ballast or scenery or anything else. Okay, control station. This is Coal Creek. We have four signal levers. They're the red ones, and 4 switch levers. They're controlling 4 2-head signal masts mounted on bridges. And these are controlling, this was an industrial spur, a coal mine, 2 crossovers, and this is a branch line coming off here. It's fully interlocked. There's locks in the back. I'm not going to talk about the locking mechanisms or the circuitry or all that stuff that's controlling it, and the Arduino and all that kind of stuff. But they actually have physical locks to come down and lock the levers in place. The levers are just sitting on, they're just a hole drilled in the bottom of them, and they're just glued onto the end of a toggle switch. So when you're pulling it, you're just pulling a toggle switch. That's all you're really doing. So the trick is the control circuitry, and it looks really complicated. But basically you have at this end here, this is the power source. It's an H bridge, and an H bridge is what you have in all your boosters, all your decoders. They all have an H bridge in it. And if the 2 inputs here and here are the same, the outputs over here will be the same. They'll be either ground or 12 volts, but they'll be the same and the motor won't run. If one of them changes, one will switch to ground. And so now you have one at 12 volts, one at ground, motor runs. And I set this whole thing up on a small circuit board that uses a 9-pin D sub plug. So I just plug them in. If something goes wrong, I can unplug them. The one thing I did add to this one, I understand for many years, I ran these with breadboard things that just looked awful. People would look underneath the railroad and they'd see these things and they go, what's that? And so I decided I ought to make them look better. So I did a professional circuit board for them. But the one thing I have here, you can put a jumper on this, and this will fake out the circuit as to which way the lever is thrown, because you don't know which way the lever has to be, which way the motor has to run to make the switch normal or reverse. And this is a quick way to adjust that. You'll see in a minute. Okay, this is the logic sim.
Earl, we lost you.
Pardon?
We lost you.
Okay. Oh. Can you see it?
Yes,
Okay, were you able to see the video or just the sound?
the sound went.
Okay, I have it recorded. I'll start it over and I will narrate it myself. I had narration on there, but for whatever reason, it's not coming through. So hang on one sec. Okay, this is a little system called Logisim. It's a free download, and I use it for designing circuits. So these are the inputs from the controller. This is the lever here. These are the switch machine inputs here. Now, this is a flip-flop circuit. Okay, I got to turn off my sound here. This is a flip-flop, and what it does, it locks into whichever side this is on. We have a time delay here, and you'll see this work in a minute. But basically, the time delay takes care of any switch bounce. And it goes through, these are, because of the time delay, these are what they call Schmidt triggers. They're hysteresis, so that once they trigger, they don't go back. And the output of this goes to here, and this is the output to the motor. So we're going to run this thing and see what happens. Pull the control lever, and you notice that the motor starts right away because these two are different. We have a time delay here. The time fires, nothing happens. Oh, the switch machine, now the thing's running and the switch machine's moving. So the switch machine finally fires and this switches. If the first thing that happens, the circuit breaks, and then this one here gets made. So he goes low now. Now, what has happened, this has changed. Now the time delay is working again. Time runs out, they both go high, and the thing stops. Now we'll put this back to normal. Now we're working on this time delay, but the motor's fired up, it runs right away, it goes. Toggle switch finally fires. This one breaks. And that closes and he goes to brakes. Time delay gets going. Time delay goes and the motor stops. And that's basic. Now, this is a free download, and I use it extensively for developing logic circuits. I like to figure out how to get the sound from the recording to play, but I'll work on that. So I'm back off the recording, and this is the H bridge. The only thing different between this H bridge and what most people would find in your boosters and stuff, I put in these Schottky diodes across everything to protect the transistors from what they call it, back power. From look, when a magnetic field collapses, it runs power backwards, and it will fry these little guys in half a second. TIP means transistor internally protected, and it's because they have a diode inside, but I don't know what kind they have. So I threw in a Schottky in here. Anyhow, they have half the forward voltage of a regular diode, and they run much faster. So they're really a good protector. And that's one of their primary objectives, primary jobs. This is the schematic of the board that I built from the component side, and it's really compact. Pack a lot of stuff onto one of these boards if you take the time. And this is the way it looks when it's installed. This is the power output stage. These are the TIP things. These are the little driver components. This is the logic section up here. And that's what they look like when they're installed. They just plug into this bus. I made a mistake and I didn't put 2 pull-up resistors on the board. So you'll notice I have pull-up resistors all along here. And that's sort of it makes wiring this, for me, a mess. If I did it again, I would remember the proper pull-up resistors. Okay, we have a couple short videos here, and they're narrated. So I am going to have to take my earphones off and just talk through the mic. Okay, this is a manual switch. This is a situation where you just have a crossover, and when you pull one, it'll fire the other. It's just mechanically locked. Yeah, since it's manual, it only has a double pole throw. So it throws, boom, there it goes. Back. But they're just mechanically locked, so they fire together. And I left these open so you can see the actual mechanism, the spring mechanism here in here working. And this is okay, now this is a little different. We have here 2 switches that can lead to this crossing. If the turnouts are controlling the power routing to these 2 frogs. No, I'm sorry, these 2 frogs. If both turnouts are facing, leading toward the crossing, you short it out. You short out the booster. So I've wired them so that only one can be lined toward the crossing at any one time. We'll start with them like this. Yeah, this is not a double slip. This is a lap switch here. They're two completely separate switches. Now you can't see this one came back and this guy here is straight. Now when I push this guy, now when I push it back, boom, this guy still stays the same. And so it only, you pull. So that's okay. Oh, yeah, we have a power switch here, and you can see how this works. This is also running to a crossover. Oh yeah, this is a little slip joint that I built so that when the toggle goes, it can snap over without pushing against the arm. But you can see it fires at about the proper speed for a proper turnout. So anyway, that's it. It's a way to control switches that I found very satisfying. Mainly because I'm running actual interlockings. When the tower operator pulls the lever to line a switch, he then is going to pull the signal lever to throw a green, pull up the green, and the engineer is going to start moving, and he has to be sure that that doggone switch is actually thrown. So that's why I'm not real fond of the slow motion machines. Okay, so that's it. There you go.
Well, Earl, thank you so very much. Anybody have any questions for Earl? Well, Earl, I really do appreciate it. That's really something that you've created there.
Well, the next one I'm going to show you is a way to build a reversing section that is a lot smaller than your longest train. In fact, it only has to be as long as your longest engine lash up, and works beautifully.
Well, I look forward to it.
All righty.
Well, that's it for this evening. I really do appreciate everybody coming, and I hope you enjoyed the presentations tonight. Next Wednesday is our show. Martin Breckfield, MMR, is back, building another old kit. Featured modeler is Kerry Williams, a modeler and historian. He's just a fantastic guy. I do hope that you have learned something this evening, and I hope that you really enjoyed the people that we had on tonight. I thought Nick's presentation from a hobby shop owner's standpoint was really interesting. So please join us again next Wednesday, and tell your friends about us so that they can join us too. Thanks so very much for being here this evening, and happy modeling. Thank you.